Sometimes we see the countdown. Well, we don't see the countdown anymore. It just tells us that the broadcast is live. There's none of that your 3, 2, 1 kind of stuff. Welcome.
That's because you don't need it, Jess. You don't need a countdown, bro. You're on fire right now.
I'm born ready, bro. I was born ready for this stuff. Couple of things. Number one, this is the 2022 Thanksgiving Brunch with REC edition. Very, very excited just to get back to it. Like all three of us, and we obviously are going to take the time to introduce our guest today. But we all just got back from an event last weekend. What was it? I think over like total online, in person, all that kind of stuff, like close to 1,400 people.
Yeah.
I mean, in Niagara Falls, it was pretty crazy. It was nice to just get to shake hands again. And for us specifically in the last 2 years at REC, I mean, we've been blessed, as we say every single brunch, to help a lot of families, specifically with investing into real estate. But we were doing all this stuff virtual, and some of the people, like, we didn't even do Zoom calls. It was like just over the phone. We have a lot of loyalty and support and trust with our clients and our REC insiders. But finally, it was so nice to see some faces. They get to see our ugly mugs, and I'm talking about you and I, Sinos, obviously not our guests. They get to see us, a couple of times a month, and they get to see Tai. But it was so refreshing to finally do a massive in-person event. And I know you loved it as well, brother. We got to hit the stage for an hour, man.
It was a lot of fun. Good morning, REC insiders. Good morning to our entire audience from coast to coast. Thank you for being with us and choosing to be with us. Happy Thanksgiving weekend. As Jazzy was just saying, we did come out of that event, and it was we met so many people that we've been doing business with for a year, 2 years, and it was the first time to actually meet them in person, which is such a non-conventional way of doing business, but it was the way it was. And never again, I hope, will it be that way again. We are very relationship driven and belly to belly type of a business. And in a business where we transact, $500 million a year, it's nice to see who you're doing it for. It's nice to feel the energy of the investors and of the people transacting, and all our partners and strategic partners, just like Cynthia. So it was amazing. Today, we're going to talk a lot about this new world that we live in, what has changed, and the things that will never change. And that's where we have to really, really keep our focus. So without further ado, somebody who's been doing this thing for over 2 decades at the highest level, Cynthia Assen, welcome to Brunch with REC, and we look forward to all your insight.
Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for inviting me, Jazz, Simeon. It's great. And yes, I agree. I totally concur with you on the live events. Meeting people, talking to people. There's just a different conversation. And for us, it was nice to get out to Niagara Falls and meet you guys and see you guys in person, in the flesh. Great presentation. So yeah, exciting times. I've been doing this a long time. Focused exclusively on investment real estate. Started way back in 1990, selling residential properties, and soon learned that my real focus and passion was helping other people invest in real estate. So been doing it for a little while, and it's right now, I view right now as a buying opportunity.
And why do you say that, Cynthia? Like, we'll kind of go back and forth and touch on even what the current market stats are here in the Greater Toronto area, because I'm going to say it's safe to say about 85 to 90% of our insiders are based here in Ontario. And we'll talk about kind of the Greater Toronto market because the stats just came out yesterday. So it's kind of cool to have a brunch lined up the day after the stats just came up. But why do you think and why do you say, after all the years that you've been doing this, like, why we're kind of currently in a great opportunity to possibly buy for people?
What I look at really is the opportunity is that now people have the time to be able to actually look at real estate. In the past 3 years, people were literally running around writing non-subject deals, hoping to get that deal. Was that practical? Was that a good practice? Again, you had to do what you had to do to get the property you needed. We still don't have enough affordable housing in both Canada and the US. And that housing inventory continues to dwindle. And the governments don't seem to be doing a really good job of building housing. So they need the private sector to do that. And a lot of people...
The government is very reactive, not proactive in fixing the problem. They're reactive and consistently trying to find limitations they can put in order to safeguard that inventory, and they don't care who they hurt. Meaning every time they do anything, they hurt the first-time home buyer. Every time, it's the first victim of every single government policy is by putting up interest rates, you just kick them out of the pool. You're protecting the inventory, but now they're all renting it at higher prices. It's just insanity. So to Cynthia's point, government has to do more if they actually ever want to see affordability in the housing market.
I totally agree with you. And I think if the government wanted to be practical, they would ultimately...
Cynthia?
Oh, yes? Cynthia's good. Simeon, you're just frozen. Continue, Cynthia. I think everyone...
yeah, so I think the governments have to look at ways to do public-private partnerships again. Back in the 1970s, there was a multi-urban residential program set up.
Sorry, guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Hear you. You're frozen. There we are.
You're good now.
So yeah, they had programs in place that drove a lot of investment in rental housing. In BC, half of False Creek was built through this program. It was a great program. You don't even have to reinvent the wheel. Dust it off, put it out there, you'll build some purpose-built rental. So I think that's part of what I would encourage the governments to start considering. They're not doing a good job with their policy to bring it on. So, figure out a different way, try something different, and maybe go back to a way that did work and was proven. So, for me, the buying opportunity, go back to that, is that now there will be opportunity for people to take advantage of what I would consider prices that aren't jumping every day, every minute, and being able to make informed, wise purchase. Now, the only thing they'll have to get innovative on is how do we finance this? What's the cost of finance over the next couple of years? And I think, that leads right into the interest rate conversation as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and just before we kind of continue, I know that generally speaking, around our 5 to 6 minute mark, an email usually gets pushed out by our team, and so we have a lot more people that kind of sign on. Again, I just want to welcome everyone that's coming on, and instead of just telling us where you're signing on from today, this being the 2022 Thanksgiving edition of Brunch with REC, I'm going to ask you all for a favor, and then myself, Cynthia, and Simos will close this off with what I want to ask you, everyone that's watching right now. Just let us know what's the one thing that you're very, very thankful / grateful for this year. Just put it in the comments. The team in the background, specifically Nikki, who's kind of controlling our 1s and 2s today, he'll bring them up, because I think it's a great time to spread the virus that we like to spread, which is positivity. And so if you can do us all a favor, just put in that one comment about what you're thankful and grateful for this year. And back to you, Cynthia, in terms of the interest rates, as you were speaking about the compelling buying opportunities that are starting to present themselves, we actually presented a pretty cool opportunity at the Investor Summit back in Niagara last week. And we actually still have a few units that we were able to go back to the builder with and ask for more units. So if you're watching right now and you didn't get an opportunity to reach out to us, or one of our team members maybe reached out to you, but they haven't connected yet, I urge you to send an email to info@reccanada.com. That's info@reccanada.com. I say it all the time. You don't need to be all formal in your email. Just put in the subject line the opportunity that the boys were speaking about. Just put in the subject line the opportunity that the boys were speaking about. To your point, Cynthia, because not as many people are in the market, developers, builders, sellers of homes, they're actually offering incentives that we haven't seen for a very, very long time, right? So this project that we did back last week, and that we still have a couple more units left now, It was a rental guarantee with cash back, protecting you against, it was really like a rollback to protect you against increasing of mortgage rates that can possibly happen because the building's going to be built in 3 years. All these types of incentives we haven't seen before. So again, to your point, I mean, even with interest rates increasing to what they are, when you actually calculate and not read the headlines, right? Like when you actually calculate what values were, say, back early 2022, January, February, with lower interest rates, and then you compare it to today, higher interest rates, but lower price points, you're looking at a difference of sometimes 50, 60, maybe a difference of $100 a month. In like if you're actually only paying $50 to $100 more a month. And so I always urge people again, right? Don't read just the headlines. You gotta dive in. You gotta ask a lot of questions, and that's truly the only way that you can make an informed quality decision.
Yes, and to that point, negative news sells. That's why we see negative headlines. And then if you read through the article, you'll find all the gems in there. And interest rates, you can take a 1-year fixed. You can take a 2-year fix now so that you don't worry about any jumps if you're buying today and closing today. With pre-sale, I just see it as a great opportunity to lock in those incentives. You're not going to have to do your financing until that building completes and closes. So great opportunity to park your money and grow with the inflation, because if your money's sitting in the bank and inflation's ticking away at 6, 5, 6, 7%, you're actually losing money. So I'm seeing the bank rates start to increase their GIC rates, but doesn't keep up with what inflation's doing. And until it outpaces inflation, you're losing money. So I do encourage people to look at that, make sure that they can manage their leverage. But I think it's a buying opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, we have an array of different types of investors that are watching right now, live and recording. I mean, we have super savvy investors that have 70, 80, 152 doors. And then we have people who are watching right now that just want to get into the market, maybe to Simeon's point earlier, even just as a first-time home buyer, but as well as an investor. And when Cynthia's talking about inflation, guys and gals, like, I mean, there's really only a couple of ways to protect yourself against inflation. I mean, number one, in my opinion, is you can open up a business, and as prices increase because of inflation, well, you can increase the price of your product or service. So that's a way. For us, we're a little biased. I got to be honest, we're a little biased. I think one of the best ways and really the most simple ways to protect yourself against inflation is to what Cynthia was saying earlier, with invest in income properties and real estate, because as values continue to increase, they're increasing at a higher rate than what inflation is increasing at, right? So your return on your investment. So that's really for the people that maybe are a little bit more novice and don't understand some of the terms, and don't feel foolish. Send an email to info@reccanada.com. The only way you're going to get your questions answered if you ask them, and feel free to throw them in the comments as well. Simeon, you've been in and out, brother. I'm not sure how much of the conversation you've heard of Cynthia.
I lost those few minutes. I did catch some of it. I could hear you guys. You couldn't hear me, and I was stalled. But just to what Cynthia said and to what you just mentioned, a lot of people do not understand the actual market dynamic right now. When Cynthia is saying we're seeing GICs come up a little bit, but they're not covering inflation, which means you're losing money. I really, really want to take a moment to dissect that, because it might be common knowledge to some, to myself, but I know as a fact it's not common knowledge to everyone. So this is something that's a very common instrument that the banks push to conservative investors. So let's call it Sam and Sophie, the names of my parents. Immigrants, very, very common household in this country. First generation immigrants, kids in schools, they want to send them to universities, all the things. These are people who will never, under any circumstance, put their money at risk. These are people who are highly conservative. So taking my family's last 40-year history, I can tell you that it would resonate across 50% of Canadians, because 50% of Canadians are first generation here in the last 40 years.
Yeah.
So when they walk into the bank, they always, because whether it was lack of education, fear of the unknown, all the things, they would walk into the bank. They would even go home and change into a suit before they walked into the bank. Forget now that it's ATM, telebanking. We know that there's no dynamic misalign. But back then, you used to walk into the bank like this, like you were asking for a favor. So when you walked in and Mr. or Mrs. Smith at the bank said, Sam, the best thing you can do with your money is park it right here with Bank A into a beautiful GIC. The bank took all that money, and we're talking about trillions, guys, across millions of people. They put it into their reserves where they can lend it, borrow against to do all the things, and they put you into a GIC, a government-insured instrument. And that is supposed to be, like, if this does not go down, this is the ultimate guaranteed tool, and you see some growth too. But when we're talking about growth in 1 or 2%, Cynthia, and we were talking about inflation being at 7 on the books, where really it's 11, 12, factually.
Bacon went up close to 18, 20%, buddy. So I'm feeling a little bit more than that.
There you have it. For real, though. Like when you're paying 15, 20% more at groceries alone, 15% more at the pump, I'm not sure what else the index has in it. But when Cynthia says your GIC is losing money, if you think just because the number went up by 1% this year, that doesn't mean that you grew. It actually means that you're behind because everything around you, the power of your money went down. So the things you can do with that $50,000, $100,000 is less than what it grew by. Right. And I hope I'm very clear about that, because the reason we're here having this conversation today is where you will find out as an investor that there are things, strategies, and methods that we deploy every day to deliver wins that double, that quadruple, that 10x the return you would get by just putting the money in the bank and or not doing anything at all. Cynthia, what are some of those strategies that you deploy every day for investors?
Well, we are focused on the real estate asset classes. That's our focus. We raise money for private companies so that they can go and do development, that they can buy multifamily. All of that is real estate based, and what we're looking for is cash income and growth appreciation for clients. But they don't have to do it with a lot of money. Minimum investments $25,000. They can participate in deals that they might not otherwise be able to. Example: self-storage, car wash. It's a nice, great asset class, very stable in terms of cash distributions of cash flow. And these are things that we offer to clients. And why I got into the private equity side is because I felt that not enough people had real estate in their financial portfolio. Lots of people are trying to buy real estate, buy and hold and, own. And that's wonderful. That's how I started. And, borrowed money from my home line of credit, bought a bunch of real estate investment properties. And I'm very happy that I took that strategy, because it's worked very well for me. And a lot of people are looking to do that inside their registered accounts. So, how do you do that? We have companies, and they do have underlying real estate assets in all different asset classes. So our clients are looking at returns anywhere from 7% to 20% plus annualized.
Just taking you back one quick statement. When you say registered, because again, some people are first-time investors, some people are savvy. What's the difference between capital and registered capital?
Registered capital is when you put your money into a registered retirement savings plan to get a tax credit, or you want to put it into a tax-free savings account so that you can defer any of the taxation on the profits or the income. Also RESPs, real estate education savings programs, LIRAs, all of these accounts that actually defer the taxation for you and allow you to grow your money more quickly. So we work with those
inside those plans.
Absolutely. So, again, we focus on the real estate because that's what our expertise is. Our team is, there's three of us, Austin, Taylor, myself, and we were at the Key Spire booth. So I think maybe a lot of the people that are on this call would probably recognize our company, but, we've got a great company out of the Canadian company that's actually doing a US multifamily value add program. And great story, young, ambitious, driven corporate executive Janet LePage decided leave her executive job at TELUS and let's go out and buy some multifamily, and it's value add, buying old assets, repositioning, and average annualized return for them has been 30% annualized. So these are the types of investments that are available. Because I've been in this business 30 years, I've really focused on, I don't work with startups. I want to work with partners and people that have exited, proven their system, don't chase shiny objects, deliver time and time again. So that's extremely important to our team. And we identify those issuers, and that's those companies, that's who we're offering to our clients.
So Cynthia, what I want to do, if it's okay with you, is actually take someone who's watching right now down the path of how this investment works, right? You mentioned minimum investment is $25,000. And so I'm going to speak to the people who DM me a lot and message me or email us and say that, you need 100, you need 200,000 to get into the market or get into investing into real estate. And I say it then, and I'll say it now, that you just heard it, that the minimum investment for you, if you're watching right now, to get into investing into real estate, it's not owning outright you yourself an income property, but it's a way for you to get started. And we all started somewhere. You might be watching right now and thinking about, maybe it's Simeon, maybe it's myself, maybe it's Cynthia, maybe it's a friend or a colleague that has 12 doors or 7 doors, and they actually own these income properties, and you start comparing yourself to these people. I think that's poison, because that's going to stop you from generally taking action, where you now know that you can get into investing into real estate with as little as 25,000. That could be in your account, that could be under the mattress, that could be in your registered funds, which I think all three of us will agree that you're probably only seeing somewhere from 3 to 4%, maybe 5% on the high end, super high end on that money anyways, where it's sitting. So Cynthia, someone comes to you and your team, they have 25,000 or 100,000 in their registered funds, and it's sitting with, let's just call it, because the banks are not sponsoring us, so we always just use their colors. Let's call it the green bank. The money is sitting in the green bank with their RRSP mutual fund / GIC, whatever it is, and they want to now invest this into real estate with you. What's the process of doing that? How long is it in there for? Is it, can they take it out? Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think this is where people get a little confused, like, oh my God, I'm taking the money out of my RRSP. I've been told I got to pay a withholding tax and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I want you to talk our guys and gals through.
We do we assist our clients to set up the right account, and the banks don't hold private equity in their RSP accounts. So you do have to transfer your money we work with Olympia Trust, and they're pretty much the best custodian for private equity purchases. So for me, I have my stock, a bank account, trading account, and then I have my Olympia Trust account for all my private equity. So we help people facilitate this. It's not a difficult process. It's very streamlined. You fill out a few forms, you transfer the funds over to the Olympia Trust. And from that point on, it's really just, we help you understand the subscription process, talk about the deal. We've created a portal that we put all of our investments in. That includes all of the marketing information, the executive summaries, videos from the launch of the property, as well as the offering documents. So it gives you a lot of opportunity to just go in, review, read at your leisure, 24/7, get your questions in order, and then book a one-on-one meeting and go through it, make sure you understand it. Now, time horizon for our investments. Can you pull the money in and out? On some of them, they're more liquid. Typically, the most liquid we have is a 4-month period, time frame. But generally speaking, our investments, you have to be prepared to go for a 3 to 5 year hold period. And why people say, well, I can buy in the stock market and liquidate. Well, part of why the stock market's volatile is liquidity. For us, we're less volatile, but there, you can't just pull your money in and out. You're giving your money to a private company. You're saying, do your business plan, deploy the capital, make me some money. And that's the time horizon. So we try to work very much on an individual basis, customizing a plan that works for the client. So we ask questions, we fill out forms and say, okay, this would work best for what you're trying to do. And then we put together a proposal. So it's not a one size fits all.
So is it more like a real estate investment trust? So like my 25,000 and Simeon's 25,000, you're gonna pull it together and then use that 50,000, call it, and I know it's larger than that because you have more investors that are investing their capital, and then the investment trust buys properties, i.e. multiplexes, developments.
So we have different issuers or private companies, and each of those has those very specific business plan. So we wouldn't be taking both your 25,000 and putting it into this very diversified. You would say, okay, I want to invest in US multifamily. So then we would direct you to Western Wealth Capital, and you would invest in that company. Now that company is specifically doing US multifamily value add program with a very specific outcome and time horizon. Whereas you might say, I want to do a land development deal. And you would look at Greybrook, which Greybrook is doing high-rise condominiums in the GTA. And they're a land development. So again, looking at what your interests are, where you already have real estate holdings. So we don't, if all your holdings are in Ontario, we might suggest, here's a company that's focused either in the US or focused in Western Canada. That gives you diversification. So you're not going to be impacted by any of the situations in one existing market. I think that it really is the know our client process that helps us identify the best options for you. And then if it doesn't work, hey, it doesn't work. But for a lot of our clients right now, they're looking for other places to park their RSP funds, their TFSA funds. They're tired of, because they're not taking that money out. So they can leave it there for the time horizons that are typical to our investments.
Simeon, you and I always say, right, like new build investing in terms of like an actual income property is probably the most passive investment. It's super boring. It's watching grass grow kind of thing. And there's no real excitement in terms of building out a basement apartment. Our good friend Scott McGilvey is fantastic at building out income properties and stuff, but a new build investment is not that. I actually think the most passive investment in real estate is exactly what Cynthia was speaking about, right? Like you invest your 25,000, your 100,000, your 250,000, whatever it is, and you're able to be part of a larger portfolio, so you can see higher returns, and there's no dealing with tenants and toilets. Like you're not doing any of that.
Well, it's the fact that most people don't know that you can invest in real estate without buying real estate.
Yeah.
So you can be a part of a group that buys real estate, and that's where Cynthia comes in. So I think the education message here is a little bit, well, not only twofold, it's quadfold. Number one, there is nobody that can't invest in real estate. Oh, I don't have 100,000, I can't invest. That's not true. If you have 25,000, if you have 5,000, there are outlets out there that you can put literally $500 into. For real. It's called crowdfunding. There is multiple platforms now out there doing it. If that's what you want to do, you can. The part that we enforce the most is the due diligence, meaning Cynthia said it's our know your client process that sets us apart. If you and I, Jazz, were to say the one thing that puts our business separate from anyone else's is exactly what we call the real estate action plan. The real estate action plan is a get to know your client, is a KYC from the finance world applied to real estate.
We didn't come up with it on our own. We just stole it from the financial world, bro.
Well, it's funny enough, our REAP, our real estate action plan, it has developed. Like I look at the REAPs we did 10 years ago, and it used to be a one pager where we would start saying, do you have a primary property? Do you have an income property? Do you have a cottage? Do you have RSPs? Now the questionnaires may be like 30 questions because the real estate market is not. One of my favorite real estate trainers. He's a trainer. Jared James. I adore him. He's awesome. He made this post to his social saying, somebody said the market's crazy. The market's not crazy. The market is complex. The market is constantly changing. The market needs attention and real professionals that can dissect and interpret the challenges of the day to a positive outcome.
And what is the market crazy compared to?
Compared to what?
What are we?
I love it.
I love it. My parents bought 1981, 1982 first property and get an interest rate of 17, 18%. So if you tell them, I don't know, what's a 5-year fix now? 5.5% probably.
Yeah, 5.5%. And to that point, that's kind of put it in perspective. Are interest rates really high? They're not. They're not. 3.25, even paying 5.5. My first investment property was 14%. So they're not high. What's really happened is this price increase at such a phenomenal rate. It's got to correct. It's a healthy slowdown right now that's needed. And I think that's why I keep saying, for people that live in the Vancouver, Toronto, larger centers, Montreal, this is the time to really figure out, how do you buy? This is how you buy and when you buy. And it's scary. You don't know how long this is going to last, but say it lasts 2 years. You own a property for 25, especially young people that haven't got into the market. Now's the time to go and really figure out how you can buy this. Whether you have to go
Toronto,
JV, I don't care. Go get it. Go get it.
Jazz, do you remember 6 months into the pandemic when Toronto was on sale? What had happened is the pandemic came in a big bad wolf suit, scared the shit out of everyone. And I remember being on King Street. I had gone downtown for a meeting. This is the first thick COVID. And you literally could have shot a cannon through King Street, through Yonge Street, and not hit a soul. It looked like the zombie apocalypse. Like I had never been in my city ever and not see a soul for blocks. It was like 10:30 a.m. November-ish. The week after, we're doing this brunch, and all the condos were vacant. Like people left. They went home. They went back to wherever they came from.
They don't want to touch the elevator buttons.
That's right. So everybody's saying, "Oh, this is the end of the cities as we know it," and all the things. And we literally went on and said, "Guys, this is not the end of the cities as we know it. Right now, the only thing we see is a tremendous buying opportunity from all the people who own condos that have no money in the bank, that speculated on the market. Toronto is on sale," is what Jazz said that morning. Toronto is on sale. And we had, I'm not going to say hundreds, definitely dozens to 100 clients that in those 30, 60 days bought the daylights out of downtown Toronto. They experienced a 40% uptick in the next 24 months. And 40%.
And the investors, you know what's so important there, Simos, and we don't really talk about that part. November 2020, we were renting out maybe 60 units or something like that, 62 units for our clients that came to market because they purchased these properties, say 3 years ago. So it wasn't the best case scenario that we had to rent out these condos. We got all 62 of them or something rented out. But at that time, they were renting their 1-bedrooms because of the lockdown, 1850, 1900. Simos, I mean, you managed that whole thing. So it was around there, right?
Yeah.
Today, right now,
2900.
October, whatever we are, that same unit now can get upwards of $2,500 a month, and you actually have multiple offers on it. And for the people who closed on those condos after November 2018 here, obviously it was after November 2018, they're going to be able to increase the rents to market rent right now on that same tenant once that lease comes up, which majority of them did in 2021. It wasn't 2,500, it was probably closer to 2,250. So what you start to see is as interest rates increase, well, the tenants, when they're sitting at home having conversations, honey, should we buy? Let's get ready to buy. Some of them, because the cost of borrowing has increased, they have to go back into the tenant market. Right. And that's why we're seeing rents increase significantly here in the GTA. I'm sure, Cynthia, you're seeing the same thing in the GVA.
Exactly. And the thing is, what the assets that we look for, the guys that already own these real estate, purpose-built rental real estate properties, and they're taking advantage of this increased demand for rental because it's pushing rents up across the board. So I love multifamily right now. It does weathers recessions very, very well. Both even on the pre-sale side, buying one and, putting your money down and going and getting involved in a pre-sale. Don't see how that's a bad time, especially if you're getting rent guarantees, all sorts of guarantees and incentives around that, like that'll cover any additional increase in financing costs that you might experience. But if you're closing 3 years out, I do think this interest rate environment's going to last longer. It's going to rise higher than we thought, but it's really a good thing for us to get inflation under control. And I'm not disagreeing. I hope that the banks help the people that are going to be hit hard with this. Simple solution: extend the amortizations for existing homeowners that are renewing. That's a really simple one. Let's see if the banks are charitable. I mean, our banks have made nothing but money every year over year. So, I hope that happens.
Are you thinking 30, like 25 to 30, or 30 to even like 35?
35 to 40, extend on some of these to take. If you do that, the payments aren't going to jump, 25, 30% on these clients, and many of whom probably that's going to push a lot of financial pressure on them. So, but I do think that the opportunity in our space is look to the companies that already own these rental buildings. And the rents are, the rent growth in both US and Canada has been exceptional over the last year. And with the environment we're in right now, it will continue to increase. So I really like that space. And I do have, so my thesis is there's no affordable housing in both these economies, inventory shrinking. People are pushed out of buying, so they're going to go rent. So the rental demand is going to continue to increase. So those assets will take, benefit from this environment. And that's what we're really focusing on for our clients at this point.
And I think it's important to mention as well for maybe there's some new people in our world right now that are thinking, well, I mean, look, I mean, I wanted to invest into real estate to make that quick flip in a year and cash out and do whatever, travel the world or buy more, whatever it may be. But I think, and I know I can speak for Simeon, and from the sounds of it, I think you'll agree with us as well, Cynthia, that real estate needs to be looked at in a 5, if you could get yourself to a 10, and imagine you can get yourself to a 20-year window. I mean, when you start to see what type of returns you will get, as well as you won't have to worry as much when there's slight dips in the market, because you know that in that 10-year period, values, and GVA is very similar to the GTA, values on average in the last 100 years. So we're taking a massive sample size here. In the last 100 years, every decade, values double. Now, we just probably went through an outlier in the last 3-4 years. They probably quadrupled
right.
in most areas. But if you even take the last 2-3 years of appreciation out, you'll still see that values they'll double every single decade. And so understanding that, now look, I mean, I might sound, odd to some people, like 10 years you're telling me to hold on to this? Yeah, because unfortunately, as you can tell with my hair and Simos's hair, I mean, we're getting older. And if you can think back how quickly the last 10 years have gone, I can tell you as you get older, the next decade is coming even quicker. And so
Exactly.
if you don't plant some of these seeds right now, you're not going to be able to reap the rewards in a decade from now.
Yeah, and even just give you an example. My first investment property I bought in 1984, and I still own it. So I can't even describe. It's West End, Vancouver, and I don't even want to tell you what I paid for it. It was ridiculous. And now I look at it and go, but you know, I always believed in buy and hold. I still believe in buy and hold. I think with our banks, they're fairly good at, you know, letting you refinance, pull equity out, buy another one versus sell, pay the commission, pay the tax, and you know, you're going to replace the money. So I've never believed in that. I've always said, you know, own that real estate. If you can continue to own it, keep it. So in terms of just where we're going and where we're at right now, I think that it's going to be a little bit rocky in the next little while in the sense of we don't know exactly what to expect, and negative news always sells. So we're going to see a lot more of it. So I just tell people, you know, build a plan. You guys are doing the right thing. You need to understand what your plan is. You need to commit to it and stay the course, because you can't flip in and out. And that's, again, a good thing about real estate. It's not that liquid. So you make sure your plan is sound and you can afford it. So your leverage is a part of that plan. Your, you know, borrowing money from a bank. I mean, that's great. Using other people's money to grow your wealth. I mean, the appreciation, you're leveraging your appreciation. So as long as you've set yourself up for success, and that's really knowing and understanding what you can and will afford. And there's always a way to finance real estate. There's always people out there looking to partner up. I've never, you know, unless it's not a good deal, you know, you can find someone to help you participate.
So much to unpack there. Go, Simeon.
I have a few questions. Cynthia, you're giving us tremendous value here today. I think you're giving everybody tremendous value today, and I appreciate it. I want to take some practical things out of your playbook. Right now, we're seeing a new set of rules being set, interest rate hikes, prices doing what they need to do to still ensure that the fundamentals of sound investing are still at play. Given those shifts that we have to make, I mean, you're funding a team, they're acquiring real estate, they need to give a return back to their investor. Which markets specifically are you guys bullish on right now? And which markets are you pulling maybe either out of and or shifting strategies in? Where do you see the big opportunities?
I would say that we like the purpose-built affordable housing model. I think that to me is going to, you know, it's going to get all that extra rental demand, even if, you know, employment starts to, you know, unemployment starts to creep up. It doesn't really get impacted by any big jumps. It benefits from it. So we're really focused on the multifamily space, both in Canada and the US. Love the bigger centers, you know, Vancouver, Lower Mainland, Vancouver Island, BC Interior even is, you know, growing and fast. And then the GTA, all of that surrounding area. You know, Canada's bringing in over 400,000 people. That their immigration targets are massive. You know, we're the fastest growing in the G7 in terms of immigration. So where are those people going to live? They're going to go to Toronto. They're going to go to Vancouver. They're going to go to Montreal to live. And typically they rent for the first couple of years, and that's going to drive. So if you're buying something and you're an investor and you want to rent it, that's going to be your demand. And these are big numbers, you know, 400, 421, 430,000. Those are the targets over the next 3 years of people coming into our country, brand new people. And on the flip side, I think I read a stat that Toronto delivered 1,200 units in the first quarter of 2022, and it had 58,000 new residents. Last time I looked, that doesn't equate. So it's really about the product you're buying, the people you're working with, and understanding how you make money and how you're going to structure yourself to last. I don't care if your interest rate's at 6.5%. Structure yourself. If it's true in Vancouver, they're saying rents are going to go to $5 a square foot. That's $3,000 for 600 square foot. And that's for lack of housing right now. So those rents are going to drive a lot more investment, bring in all those people. Now with interest rates higher, I mean, we spoke to one of the project marketing companies in the Vancouver area, and they said, the big developers are now not going to do 4 projects next year. They're going to do 2. So when this interest rate settles out, you watch and see what happens to demand. So again, I go back to buying opportunity.
I believe it 100%. I've said it literally verbatim, exactly what you just said, more than 1,000,000 times in the last month. It's unbelievable.
To Cynthia's point about the $3,000 a month rent for a 600 square foot condo, I know for people who are in Vancouver or if they're in Toronto, because ours is at $2,500 for that 600 square foot condo, maybe even 550 square foot condo. It might sound like we're on crack, like, oh my God, how could this even be? Why is it so much? But if you start comparing us now to other major cities in the world, they're higher. Like, think about like what a 1-bedroom rent in Manhattan is right now.
In London.
Right? And in London, in Tokyo, and in Paris, and all these major cities, some would say, there's a meme out there that I just saw yesterday, but I think it's an older one. Like, they have the transit system of all these major cities, and you see all these squiggly lines and stuff, and then you see Toronto's as like, one running east and west, and then one line running north and south. And so I know that, being a Torontonian my whole life, that our transit system needs to get better, and they're doing their thing, but it's going to take a decade or so. However, to Cynthia's point, it doesn't matter. People are coming. They're coming here. And so, yes, maybe our transit system is not world class, but everything else other than that, and I'm speaking for Toronto and Vancouver, I mean, these are world-class cities. People want to be here. There's jobs, there's schools, there's entertainment, and other people's families are here, right? And so, in that sense, that's why you continuously see rents going higher. And people ask, when is this gonna end? I've always been saying for the 18 years now that I've been in this business, it's gonna end when either the blue government, the red government, the orange or the reddish orange, whatever it is now, when they stop allowing people to come in. And I just don't see that happening. I mean, Canada has always allowed people to come here. And so I only see these values dropping, rents and prices, over a long period of time when we don't have the people coming in.
Exactly.
Well, not only are we not going to see immigration targets lower, Canada is not the most welcoming country because, as a federal policy, they're so nice. We need this immigration like never before.
Yes.
The printing of the money that took place over the last 2 years is the only motive that the immigration target of 330 became 400K plus. They need to make up so much ground to stay as Canada. If you want Canada to continue to look, feel, and operate the way it does today, we need 1 million immigrants a year, let alone 400,000. Because 400,000 people, for people to understand the ripple effect of how this economy works, the minute those people land, they need to eat. The minute those people land, they need to work, they need to use the washroom, they need to sleep, they need blankets, they need coffee mugs, they need coffee, they need creamer, they need forks in their drawers. The minute they leave the door, they need a bus ticket, they need a car, they need gas. The entire machine starts taking place. And that person's contribution is their tax for everything they buy, the tax on their paycheck, their savings in the bank that are going to be leveraged to create more opportunity, their dreams, their aspirations, and their ambitions to become investors, landlords, to put their kids through whatever they want to put their kids through, just like anyone else living the Canadian dream today. They will participate in that very same cycle. So when you have 400,000 people a year participating in that machine, is how we have Canada and how we have investors like ourselves. So if you want to ask me, and I will speak for me right now because we're coming kind of to 11:20, what I'm thankful for this beautiful Thanksgiving is to be on this land right here in Canada. to be able to participate, to be able to speak my words this morning, share my thoughts with these two beautiful humans on my screen, but be able to invest and have an opportunity to grow using strategies that are safe. I'm not doing crime. I'm not doing things that hurt people. I'm a housing provider to a market that desperately needs it. And for anyone here, Jazz, Cynthia, hundreds of you that are going to watch this video, think of how amazing that is to be a housing provider, to be a part of the solution and to growth, into positivity in others. That's what's
Cynthia,
the amazing opportunity in real estate here today.
And I second that. I mean, I was going to say I'm grateful that I was born in this country. I grew up in this country. The freedoms we have, and I had a very. Every time my children would get up in the morning, I say, you got two choices. You can be happy or you can be sad, but I want you to be grateful because you're extremely lucky. And I look around the world, there's not many more places in the world. There's fewer and fewer places in the world that we can go to and feel safe, secure, and raise our families. And I think that's the draw. That's why people are coming to Canada. And I think it will only become more a trend of more people coming, not less. So, we need to provide these people with housing. And I do think it is going to be, governments getting their head, private sector. We're going to need to figure it out. And people like you guys are going out and finding these investment opportunities for investors, but these are providing houses for a lot of those people moving here. And that's an admirable thing to do. And I think we should all be proud of it and we should continue to do it. I've done it for 30 years. Buy real estate, rent real estate, own real estate, because I can. And it's made a lot of money for me and my clients. And I think let's keep going. Let's keep sharing and spreading the word.
100%.
I'm gonna say, I mean, there's no way, better way to close off this Thanksgiving edition of Brunch with REC with the beautiful words said by Simeon and Cynthia. I'm reminded of how much I like this weekend, because it really is a weekend you get to spend with your family and friends and just eat a lot of food.
Again, another blessing.
And another blessing.
And not feel guilty. Just eat that food.
As much as I like Santa coming down the chimney, and I'm all for that, the whole gift giving and receiving and all that kind of stuff sometimes, adds a little bit of stress, where I feel this weekend is just sitting, eating, having a couple of drinks, maybe watching football, whatever it is. And so I'm very, very thankful for the people that are watching, because they've given myself, a son of two immigrant parents, a taxi driver and a factory worker, my business partner, my brother from another mother, again, a son of immigrants as well, a platform to speak about whatever the heck we want to speak about. We like real estate and we like creating wealth through this vehicle, and so it's the one that we chose to speak about most. But without the people watching, even though I know a lot of you know that we like the sounds of our own voice, it's just not as much fun when we know that there's people watching and commenting and then sending us messages on how much they enjoy this. I'm very thankful for you guys and gals for now. I think we're getting close to 100 episodes, maybe even more. I know we hit 100 at some point of Brunch with REC. It started because of the first week of lockdown, and then we just never gave it up because everyone said they loved the people that we're bringing on, and today was definitely one of those guests. Cynthia, you brought so much value. Simeon mentioned it earlier, but I heard you say a couple of things that I'll definitely be using in my content, so I appreciate that. But to everyone who's watching, thank you. Have an awesome Thanksgiving weekend. Be grateful, as the two before me had mentioned, and as always, reach out. You might think it's the silliest question, i.e., what's the closing costs on a condo, or how much does a lawyer cost, or why is this supply and demand term I'm always hearing? I don't care where it's coming from. If it has something to do with real estate, or you need a plumber or electrician, use our real estate concierge service. There's no cost for it, none whatsoever. Send an email to info@reccanada.com. That's info@reccanada.com. And as I mentioned earlier, we do have a couple of units that we were able to go back and get from the developer for the project that we released to a little over 1,000 investors this past weekend. If you want more information on that, send an email to info@REC.
Also, may I add, Jazz, for anyone looking to connect with Cynthia, Cynthia, feel free to tell our audience where to go. And as well, if you missed this or if you forgot anything, if you want a personal introduction from us, by all means, reach out to the same info@REC Canada. Call in. It doesn't matter. We can connect you with Cynthia, with her team. She has an amazing team in Taylor and Austin. I've met both of them. We've spoken at a few events together. It's a very powerful team, and they can help you grow your wealth using a completely different strategy than the traditional buying bricks method. So look at diversifying yourself and look at leveraging the insight and knowledge of top professionals. Buy from the Simeon. Lots of love. Jazzy, Cynthia.
Thank you, Cynthia. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Thank you, Jazz and Simeon. It was excellent. Thank you, audience, for all of you viewers. Go and enjoy your Thanksgiving. And if you want to reach out to me, it's Cynthia@integratedequities.com. And if you go through Simeon and Jazz, we'll connect. And our job is to really help you understand what you're investing in. So it's complimentary. There's no such thing as a stupid question. The worst question is the one that isn't asked. So with that, thank you, Simeon. Thank you, Jazz. Very thankful and grateful for the opportunity, and look forward to working with you guys.
Thanks, guys. Have a great week. Take care.
Thanks.